We accept, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The proposed amendment of MP Parcasio is accepted by the chairman of the Committee on Rules.
Mr. Speaker, there being no other proponent for amendment, I move to.
You can.
Speaker. Mr. Speaker,
Thank
can
you.
may we request the secretary to
The secretariat is requested.
just for clarity, Mr. Speaker, I propose that we define, or I mean, we spell out the word MNLF, OIC, and JRP to make it clear to everyone.
Yes,
So,
Mr.
Moro National Liberation Front, Organization of Islamic Conference, and Government of the Republic of the Philippines. Tapos open, close, open, close.
So MP Parcasio accepts.
With that, Mr. Speaker, I move to terminate the period of amendment.
The period of amendment is terminated. You can. You can.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we approve on second reading BTA Parliament Bill 192 as amended.
You can. There is a move to approve BTA Parliament for 192 entitled an act governing the observance of regular and special holidays in the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, amending for the purpose Muslim Mindanao Act, Autonomy Act number 17, otherwise known as Act recognizing Muslim historical and religious event and all existing Muslim holidays in the arm and for other purposes. It is duly seconded. There being no objection, the same is declared as approved.
Di ba, Viva Voce?
Yes, meron pa. By Viva Voce. By Viva Voce.
Mr. Speaker, I move to approve BTA Bill number 192 by Viva Voce.
Yes, there is a move to approve BTA Parliament Bill number 192 by Viva Voce. It is duly seconded. The same motion is approved.
Those
Those who are in favor of BTA Parliament Bill number 192, say aye. Aye. Those who are not in favor, say nay. The ayes have it.
Mr. Speaker, the final item on the agenda is Committee Report number 11, submitted by the Committee on Health. This is on proposed resolution number 75, entitled Resolution Directing the Ministry of Health to expedite the processing of the release of all the benefits intended to the healthcare and non-healthcare workers involved in the COVID-19 response in the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao. Mr. Speaker, may we recognize the Committee on Health Chairperson, MP Kadil Sinulinding Jr. MD.
MP Kadil Sinulinding is recognized.
Auzubillahi minasyaitanirrajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, to our beloved Chief Minister, our Speaker, Deputy Speakers, floor leaders, Deputy floor leaders, fellow members of the Parliament, and fellow members of the Committee on Health. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. It is my honor to report back to this august body the committee report number 11, prepared by the Committee on Health pertaining to the proposed resolution number 75, recommending for approval with its amendments, entitled A Resolution Directing the Ministry of Health to expedite the processing of the release of all the benefits intended to the healthcare and non-healthcare workers involved in the COVID-19 response in the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao. The Committee on Health has conducted meetings before coming out with a comprehensive version of the proposed resolution. With that, I would take this opportunity to thank my esteemed colleagues and the Secretariat who tirelessly shared their valuable time in imparting relevant inputs in order to come up with a strong and comprehensive version of resolution. During the deliberation, the committee members unanimously approved the inclusion of, to quote, all the benefits intended to the healthcare and non-healthcare workers, unquote. This is intended to ensure that all their benefits, whether provided by law and absorbed as practice, shall be covered by this resolution and should be enjoyed by them. Mr. Speaker, it's been 3 years now since the COVID-19 pandemic devastated the lives of many Bangsamoro. The COVID-19 pandemic has tested our health systems, including the dedication of our manpower. Equally important, the pandemic has reminded all of us of the vital role of healthcare workers, including non-healthcare workers who play to relieve suffering and save lives of Bangsamoro people in response to COVID-19 pandemic. As a medical doctor, I consider them as our new heroes. Mr. Speaker, this resolution is one way or another to convey our support and gratitude to health and non-healthcare workers who put their lives at risk during the response to COVID-19 pandemic. By directing the Ministry of Health to expedite the release of all entitled benefits of our healthcare workers and non-healthcare workers would compensate their efforts and dedication in serving the Bangsamoro in times of pandemic and during health emergencies in general, as well as boost their morale in performing an extra mile for the Bangsamoro region. As per record received by the office, 62 million has been downloaded sometime in June 2021. Under SRI, 50 million in 2022 under OKAIS, that is one COVID allowance. Another 50 million in the first quarter of 2022 OKAIS, and another lump sum of 544 million as health emergency allowance for 2022 was downloaded already here just recently. Although there are controversial events as reported by MOH employees, the committee shall take necessary actions to shed light for purposes of correcting information and in aid of legislation. Further, I do hope that by this resolution, this will shed light to the long list of grievances of our healthcare workers, wherein this august body has a duty to address. Shukran kathiran wa billahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuhu. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker,
Yes.
we move to adopt committee report number
There is a move to adopt proposed resolution.
Ram-
There's a move to adopt committee report number 11. This duly seconded. The said motion is approved.
The Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, yes, Mr. Speaker, I think Ramos.
MP Ramos is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Meron lang po akong ilang katanungan sa ating butihing committee chair kung mamarapatin po niya ang ilang mga katanungan po.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I move to open the period of interpellation and debate.
The period of interpellation and debate is open. MP Ramos is recognized. You may proceed
Yes
now.
po. Maraming salamat po. Ulitin ko po. Meron lang po akong ilang katanungan sa ating butihing committee chair sa kanyang committee report. Kung mamarapatin po niya.
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Gusto ko pong malaman ninyo na gusto ko pong mag-manifest na makasama sa resolution na ito dahil naniniwala po ako na dapat ay matagal na pong natanggap ng ating mga healthcare at non-healthcare workers ang kanilang mga benepisyo. Para po sa kaalaman lang po ng lahat, paari po ba nating malaman or mailahad po ninyo sa amin kung ano ho ba ang kaibahan nitong healthcare at non-healthcare workers? At kung parehas po ba sila ng benepisyo na matatanggap? Ayon po dito sa committee report niyo po.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The difference between healthcare workers and the non-healthcare workers are primarily based on the nature and duty of their job. Sa healthcare workers, kasama po dyan ang ating doctors, nurses, midwives, medtechs, pharmacists, pati na rin po yung ating barangay health workers and barangay nutrition scholars who played directly under the supervision of the Ministry of Health and of course with the local government units. Ang non-healthcare workers po, Mr. Speaker, ay yung pong tumulong sa COVID-19 implementation na may kinalaman po sa pagpapatupad nitong mga restrictions, yung mga protocols na sinusunod po natin na hindi po sila kasali sa Ministry of Health at saka sa Health Department ng ating local government units. Mr. Speaker.
Maraming salamat po, Committee Chair. Karagdagang katanungan po. Ito po ba ay parehas po ba sila ng matatanggap na benepisyo?
Mr. Speaker, ang natatanggap po ng mga benepisyo ng ating mga volunteers o kaya mga healthcare workers at saka non-healthcare workers ay depende po sa kanilang risk exposure. Mayroon pong mild, may moderate at may severe. As to the exposure at saka yung categorization, it is the role of the Ministry of Health in partnership with the local government unit kung paano po nila ilalagay ang categories sa mga health workers and non-health workers na may kinalaman po sa implementation ng COVID-19.
Maraming
COVID-19 response, Mr. Speaker.
Maraming salamat. Ang susunod ko pong katanungan ay maaari niyo po ba kaming bigyan ng idea kung ilan po itong mga healthcare at non-health workers ang apektado at kung kasi kanina nabanggit niyo po yung mga na-release na po na funds para po sa kanilang benepisyo at kung maaari niyo po ba sa aming mai-share kung ilan pa po ba itong amount na pinag-uusapan natin na dapat ay matanggap ng ating mga workers.
Mr. Speaker, I must admit, during the committee hearing, we invited the resource persons from the Ministry of Health and we requested them to provide us a copy of the final list of all beneficiaries sa buong rehiyon. Up to this time po, we were not provided with a copy of the list of all beneficiaries under po sa kanilang jurisdiction na may kinalaman po sa pagtanggap ng allowance nitong special risk, itong one COVID allowance at saka health emergency assistance. Yun po yung pinaka-last na tawag dito, yung health emergency assistance. As to the amount po, Mr. Speaker, tulad ng nasabi ko kanina, noong June 2021 po, nakatanggap ang Ministry of Health ng 62 million. Noong 2021 last quarter, 50 million under UKAIS.
One COVID allowance, pero baka ikagutin mo dyan, may narinig tayo ng information, kung naka-receive natin po, nakabigay mo sila for January to September.
Okay. And another one, natanggap po 50 million nung first quarter ng 2022. And lately po, mayroon tayong natanggap na 544 million as health emergency allowance. According sa resource person during the committee hearing, ang resource person na ito is in the person of Mr. Naid Kusain. Nabanggit po niya na 95% at that moment ang nabigay na po. Kaya nga po gusto naming hingiin ang lista because yung 5% na yon ay napaka-significant pa rin. And still, we are receiving mga reports, although unverified, na mayroon pa rin pong hindi nakakatanggap. At I'm sure ay nakarating po sa inyong tanggapan, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, maraming salamat muli, no, Mr. Speaker. Medyo isang concern po ito na dapat ay malaman po natin ang totoong statistiko, no, nitong mga workers. Meron po ba kayong nalalaman kung meron po bang comprehensive database ang ating Ministry of Health patungkol dito sa mga workers natin?
Mr. Speaker, wala po.
Okay. Pinal po na katanungan ko po ito. Sa palagay niyo po ba, ano po ba ang mga naging dahilan kung bakit po na-delay itong pag-release ng ating mga benepisyo para sa ating mga healthcare at non-healthcare workers? Natanong ko po ito, Mr. Speaker, dahil mahalaga po na naaaral po natin itong mga kadahilanan kung bakit na-delay dahil ayaw po natin na maulit ito. Kung matatandaan po natin na tayo sa Parliament ay nagpasa po tayo dito ng buffer fund, no, para para sa ganon ay yung mga salaries ng ating mga workers sa BARM na nag-i-implement ang programa ng national ay pwedeng kumbaga magamit itong buffer fund para hindi ma-delay ang kanilang sweldo. So iniisip ko lang ang significance nito na itong ating mga Bangsamoro workers ay mula, ang pagkakaintindi ko, ito ay locally funded. Locally funded dapat ang paggagalingan nitong pondo. Tama po ba? Ang gusto ko po din malaman kung ulitin ko kung ano po ba ang mga naging dahilan bakit po na-delay ang pag-release ng benepisyo para sa kanila.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to answer that briefly. We asked the same question sa resource person and cannot provide us anything kasi nga po mayroon pa daw mas mataas sa kanya na pwede makapagbigay ng sagot na yan. Pangalawa po, about sa buffer fund, magkaiba po ang source ng pondo na yan kasi ang intention po ng buffer fund ay para sa sweldo ng ating human resource for health at hindi po siya walang kinalaman sa OCA o kaya sa health emergency allowance. And with that, gusto ko pong recognize yung aking vice chairman upang makapag-manifest din po siya ng kanyang nalalaman hinggil po dito sa one COVID allowance. Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I would like MP to be recognized.
Is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Chair MP Sinulinding. For the information of everybody, during the course of the committee deliberation, the Ministry of Health reported to us that they gave already one COVID allowances from January to March 2022. But I received information that naka-receive na po yung ating mga healthcare workers ng one COVID allowance or yung health emergency assistance from
January to September 2022. So, for the information of everybody ulit, yung health emergency assistance pay, habang meron pang public health emergency, lahat po ng healthcare and non-healthcare workers po ay makakatanggap ng allowance sa national government. So for now, nakatanggap na po yung ating mga healthcare workers ng health emergency assistance or yung one COVID allowance nila from January 2022 to September 2022. Pero makakatanggap din po yung mga healthcare and non-healthcare workers ng HEA nila nung mga corresponding date up to this day kasi wala pang lift, hindi pa na-lift ang public health emergency sa Pilipinas. Yun lang po, Mr. Speaker. Maraming salamat.
May I be clarified? May I interject the MP? May I be clarified the health emergency allowance is a budget coming from the national government. Is that correct? That's really all. MP Ramos, you may proceed.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, maraming salamat. Medyo nabahala lang po ako dahil hindi po natin natukoy kung ano yung mga rason bakit na-delay po itong mga benepisyo para sa ating mga workers dahil maganda po sana natukoy natin dahil tayo po ay pwede sa parlamento ay gumawa ng mga hakbang na measures para kung kinakailangan paigtingin natin yung efficient fund allocation, kung kailangan nating streamline yung proseso at i-enhance pa natin yung coordination sa mga ahensya ng Bangsamoro government ay pwede nating magawa. Bagamat ako ay pero ako pa din po ay sumusuporta sa resolution na ito and I want to associate myself on this dahil kung ito po ay makakatulong para lalong mapabilis ang pag-release ng benepisyo ng ating mga healthcare at non-health workers. Yun lang po at maraming salamat po sa ating butihing committee chair. Mr. Speaker, maraming salamat po.
Yes. What is the pleasure of the floor leader?
Thank you. May we recognize MP Amrosi Makatanong, Mr. Speaker.
MP Amrosi Makatanong is recognized.
Clarification lang po ito, Mr. Speaker. Itong problema rito sa hindi nabayaran, siguro malaki ito. Just for the information of everybody, how much ba yung deserving ng bawat isang health or non-health worker? So we can have at least an idea. Magkano ba yung pinag-usapan dito?
Mr. Speaker, tulad po ng nasabi ko kanina, the pay depends on the risk of exposure ng ating mga workers, yung health at saka non-health. For low risk, ito po yung tatanggap ng 3,000 monthly. For medium risk, ito po ay makakatanggap ng 6,000 at for high risk, 9,000 a month po. So i-multiply nyo from January to September, ganun po ang natanggap ng ating mga health and non-health workers, Mr. Speaker.
So, can we quantify how much approximate? How many millions yan?
Mr. Speaker, I don't have the exact number of health and non-health workers,
At least,
but we will ask the Ministry of Health to provide us a copy of this para po sa ating additional information, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
May
That's all.
Yes, may I be clarified, Chairman of the Committee on Health. What is the process on this particular special risk allowance and health emergency allowance, considering that the budget came from the national government? What triggers the downloading of the budget of this particular allowance?
The allowance is being issued by the national government in response to the list of names of all workers who responded to the COVID-19 and already input in the baseline data. And
True.
that is submitted to the national government
Through the Ministry of Health.
through the Ministry of Health and directly to the Department of Health Central Office. And they will do the validation and the verification, and then the money shall be downloaded to the OCM and then to the Ministry of Health, Mr. Speaker.
So if the Minister of Health did not submit the required documents, it will not start the process in the national government.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I believe so.
That. It's a pleasure of the floor leader.
For leader.
There being no other interpellators, Mr. Speaker, I move to terminate the period of
The
interpellation.
period of interpellation is terminated.
Mr. Speaker, there appears to be no one who wishes to amend, Mr. Speaker, unless MP Ramos. MP Ramos. Okay. MP Ramos, did you want to amend? Enter an amendment? Okay, Mr. Speaker, I move to terminate the period of amendment.
There is an omnibus motion to terminate the period of amendment. Sorry, seconded. The motion is approved.
Mr. Speaker, I move to approve committee report number 11, Mr. Speaker, subject to style.
Yes, there is a move to
I have none.
report number 11.
I have none, Mr. Speaker.
There is a move to approve committee report number 11 on proposed resolution number 75. It is duly certified. There being no
I have
objection,
none,
the
Mr. Speaker.
said motion is approved.
Mr. Speaker, I move to adjourn until 1 p.m.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The session for today is adjourned until tomorrow at 1 o'clock in the afternoon.